Welcome to the Central Prairie Co-op Podcast, your go-to source for all things agriculture. Each week, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and real stories from the field. Whether you're a seasoned producer or joining us for the first time, there is something here for you. So, grab a coffee and let's dive into the business of agriculture from the ground up. Welcome to the Central Prairie Co-op Podcast. Today we have Bill Angell, one of our feed consultants, with us. And Bill, we're going to cover a couple of different things here about livestock nutrition. So let's start with cows. What kind of minerals should I be getting for my cows?
So, let's talk about, I love to talk about cows. I think they're an amazing creation, and they certainly fit in Kansas.
Sure do.
Without a doubt.
Sure
so
do.
It's good to see you again, Mandy.
Good to see you too. I love a good hamburger.
Yeah, nothing like it.
Nothing like it.
And if you think about it, the primary thing that cows consume is something that you or I would not find appetizing. That being cool or warm season grass. It doesn't sound good to me, but boy, that hamburger that she produces really does sound good. So, yeah, I'm all about cows. So cow supplements, one thing that you can always depend on in the High Plains area, Kansas, we are typically short of cow mineral. Our soils are just not of the nature that support cow minerals. And I'm not saying you can't raise cattle without supplementing mineral. You can. People do that. But if you provide mineral for your cows, you'll have more productive, healthier cows, and they will stay in the herd typically longer. So it's beneficial to do that. Mineral is a thing that's always easy to talk about. However, it depends on the stage of production, or really what kind of a workload we're asking out of that cow at a particular time. A lot of our cows are spring calving. In other words, they will have calves. And at spring, sometimes March in Kansas feels more like winter than spring,
Yeah, it sure does.
But that's what it's referred to as. So those cows are, if they have calves on them right now, they're big calves and probably fixing to be weaned before too long. So that's a different requirement. The requirement for those cows is going down. It's declining. Those nutritional numbers are declining. And a lot of those cows will be separated from their calves, and they'll go to a crop residue for the winter to keep those cows in groceries for a while. And somewhere around 60 days before those cows have another calf, then you really, really need to take a closer look possibly at the nutrition prior to calving, because that's a really important time frame for the cow. Now, but they need mineral, and we know that the immune system in a calf fetus, the baby that cow is pregnant with right now, is growing, and in fact, it's developing an immune system, and so they do need minerals and vitamins to support that. Beyond that, Mandy, we've talked about the tub products that Central Prairie sells, and they're a very popular way to provide some additional nutrition for even these dry cows that are on crop residue, whether it be corn stalk or milo stalks. So that's a good way, I think, to do that, to provide nutrition for those cows. If they get the mineral that the cow needs, but if they're needing additional protein, they'll get that as well. And protein on a cow provides energy, or what's referred to as TDN, total digestible nutrients, because a cow can, if you give her a little bit of protein, if she's deficient, her digestive system works better, and she gets a lot more good out of that crop residue. So that's a key to keeping more condition on that mother cow and get her prepared to calve. And whenever that's going to happen, sometime after the first year, typically into March, is what we call spring calving. So the other side of the coin then is the fall calving cows, and there's actually quite a few of those around. I don't know. Those are cows that'll have calves between late August and sometimes into December. So the little bitty calves that you see out there right now, Mama, those are what's called fall calving cows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're different. So those cows, you would guess, have a much higher plane of nutritional needs, that is, compared to those dry cows or the cows that have big calves on them now. The fall calving cow really can use protein, either that tub supplement or some kind of a mixed ration to support her growth, lactation. The other thing is for a cow to stay in the herd and be successful, she needs to rebreed sometime in December, January, so that she's ready to have a calf again come next fall. So those are two different sets of requirements for different workloads on the cow, you might say.
So what about the calves? You've just mentioned we've seen some little calves out there, and then we've seen calves that are a little bigger, probably about ready to be separated from their mama. Mm-hmm. So what supplements do those calves need?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, I think, Mandy. Let's go back to the spring calving, the big calves. And those guys are probably going to find a new home there. We have customers. In fact, we have quite a few customers that keep those big calves on their own farm. And it's called retained ownership of those calves. So those calves, we need to prepare them for the next stage of life. They're going to be headed for a feedlot or a stocker operation somewhere. That becomes more of a different fragmented market. Different guys do different things, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Whether they keep the calves or whether they sell them. There is probably most of the calves get weaned on the way to the auction because it depends on the financial requirements for the producer and their skill set, or whether they want to just be done with the calves or whatever. But if those big calves stay on the farm, then they do have a much higher plane of nutrition. Folks need to talk to myself or one of the other Central Prairie Co-op consultants about how to make a ration for those calves, depending on how long you're going to keep them. There are some huge advantages from a marketing standpoint, I think, to get those calves prepared for the next owner. And it's important because it's money in our customers' pockets if we can add value to that calf and have them healthier and more prepared to grow for the feedlot or wherever they end up, then that's additional profit for our customers.
Right. And cattle prices are up now.
They are.
And so in order to take full advantage of that, then you would want to do everything you could for those calves.
I think that's right. And not everybody looks at that the way I do, of course, but I think that is right. And if you look at even calves that are sold, Mandy, we know that those calves that know how to eat dry feed and are weaned, they're not bawling for the mother anymore. They have some vaccinations. They are worth more money. We know that for a fact. And so it's a way for a customer to generate more income from those big calves that they're fixing to wean.
You mentioned that around here, a lot of those calves will go to a feedlot or a stockyard.
Yeah, and depending on the size of the calf. So our business is a wide variety of possibilities. It really is. So depending on how they're marketed, well, for one thing, here's a huge determining factor, whether we have wheat pasture or not. Okay. So producers that have wheat pasture or they have other readily available feed sources will tend to hang on to those calves and to generate more growth and income from them. So here's one thing that I try to get producers that I consult with to kind of get them to look outside the boxes a little bit. If you're going to wean those calves and add value either through a VAC 45 program or to have some kind of a marketing program that validates their health and their value, then I think it makes sense to have them on a feeding program that not only will protect that health and prepare them for feedlot use, but will add gain at the same time. And producers oftentimes overlook that. They don't realize that those calves can really gain a lot of weight through the starter period. So it's something I try to point out too.
You mentioned marketing a little bit, but what kind of strategies should we be using for marketing our calf crop?
It's one of those conversations that can kind of get lost. We have record high beef cattle prices, and so it seems like I mean they want to make as much money as possible, but there's also a tendency to want to sell those calves before the market turns. And I hear that constantly, that markets go up and they go down. It's just a fact of nature. So it's a matter of trying to figure out what the customer needs to do and when they need to do it. I think having that conversation with them about what those calves can be worth at a given point and the added gain that can be put on the calves besides what they weigh right now. There are a lot of calves that are sold and are actually separated from the cow the same day as their auction. Yeah. And I think if a customer's mindset is to sell those calves as quickly as possible, then the best thing for the calf is to not have them sat at a sale barn. You want those calves to not be at the sale barn any longer than possible. I would recommend not to haul them in overnight. You need to take them the day of the auction. If you have an idea when they're going to sell, get them there a couple hours before that, because they're going to go through a lot of stress and shrink. If we can lessen that time, it's better. As opposed to that, then, if a customer is willing to look at other marketing programs, okay, like one that's common is a VAC 45 program. So that means that approximately 45 days preconditioning period. That means that those calves won't be sold before 45 days after they're weaned. Okay, so in other words, they have an opportunity to adjust to not having a cow around. Okay,
right,
and being able to eat on their own, and the time for the vaccines to work and so forth. So if you do that, I think the key thing there is to work with your marketer, whether that be a sale barn or whoever to make sure that auctioneer or whoever's doing the job knows how those calves have been weaned, how they've been handled, and that they promote that the day that those calves are sold. And they can do a good job of that, and it really had. So an example of that would be an auctioneer that actually goes through a veterinarian affidavit that says that the calves have been treated in this form and function, that they've been healthy, they've had the vaccines that the veterinarian required, and it's more believable and it's worth more money to a buyer if you can convince them that they've actually had that treatment.
You can kind of plan your nutrition around how you intend to market.
That's right.
Your calf crop.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly the message. Different folks have different levels of tolerance to risk, and to if they have a skill set that allows them and they have the facilities to keep those calves around, it's one more thing to do. So maybe it's not for everybody, but for guys and gals that are interested in doing that, we would consider it a pleasure to talk with them about that and try to help them through that process and get those calves sold for more money than they would be the day of weaning.
Bill, thank you so much for coming by today and sharing more of your knowledge with us. If you are interested in learning more about our livestock nutrition options, call 620-278-3600. 3629 and we will get you connected to one of our Central Prairie Co-op feed consultants. Thanks so much for joining the Central Prairie Co-op podcast, where we talk all things ag from the ground up.